Okay, we'll call the August 15th, 2017 meeting of the White Bear Lake Conservation District order. We have a quorum. So approval of the agenda. I would like to add an item, and I'd like to add it under the board council report, and that's just a Mahoney Herod update. Diane?
I would like to add under 8F2, liability insurance.
Mike?
I would like to add under number 6, new business, Beth Carino from Rice Creek Watershed to talk about the Master Water Stewards Program.
And then I'll add one more under executive committee, the administrative assistant position. Okay, any others? Okay, and I'll mention, before I call for a motion on this, so Pat was intending, this is Pat's last meeting. He's resigning from the board, Pat McCann, who normally sits over here, which is why I'm pointing there. And Pat was going to attend tonight, but he had something come up and he was unable to attend. And so he asked me to just extend, thanks to everybody on the board and his how much he enjoyed working on the board. So I'm doing that. And then Paul had a family thing come up, so he's also not attending the meeting tonight. And Jeff, who's the new person on the board from Matamidi, appears to be missing as well. And I don't know what that's about, but he'll be our new member. Okay, so the agenda, anybody want to make a motion on that?
Move we approve the agenda.
Second.
So a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes. Approval of minutes. We have two items here. We have the minutes of June 20th, 2017 that have been adjusted, an omission corrected. Okay, and that's marked in red on this item. So I'll make a motion that we approve those minutes.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye for the hero.
All right.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I just said it was aye for the hero.
Okay.
And now 4B, the minutes of the July 18th meeting.
I move we accept them.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the July 18th meeting minutes. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And they pass. Public comment time. So this is 15 minutes that we set aside for items that are not on tonight's agenda. Anybody have anything they want to talk about not on the agenda? Okay. So we'll move on to new business. And Mike, would you like to introduce that?
Yes, I've been contacted by Beth Carino. I know I didn't say that correctly, but she can correct me. From Rice Creek Watershed, and they're offering a Master Water Steward Program. Beth, the floor is yours.
Thank you all for letting me be here this evening. I really appreciate you allowing me
months ago. I'm their communications and outreach person. I'm assuming that you're all familiar with the Rice Creek Watershed District. And hopefully we will continue to partner on many things in the area together for years to come. However, I'm here tonight to talk about one of our outreach and communications programs, a volunteer program that we are a part of. It is the Master Water Stewards program. And the Master Water Stewards program is an education outreach program designed to provide citizen volunteers with the knowledge and skills that they need to improve water quality in their own communities. It's very similar to Master Gardeners, Master Naturalists, but this takes on the issues of water quality. The program was actually developed by one of our partners, the Freshwater Society, in 2013, and it started out in Minnehaha Creek. In 2016, Rice Creek decided to become a partner and a sponsor of the program, and we started with 4 Master Water Stewards. So each Master Water Steward must participate in coursework. They commit to 50 hours of volunteer work in their first year around water quality projects in their communities, and then 25 hours every subsequent year. And in addition to that volunteer work, each Master Water Steward is tasked with completing a capstone project. Now, in some watershed districts and communities, those capstone projects tend to be on a smaller scale, oftentimes in the yards of Master Water Stewards. Rice Creek has taken a different approach to that, and we have asked our Master Water Stewards to take more of a leadership and ambassador's role in water quality projects. And so with our Master Water Stewards and our community partners, Rice Creek helps them identify a larger scale priority water quality project in a community that should be done but may not have the resources or the people to get it implemented. And they serve as kind of the project leader or ambassador for those projects. And that's what we ask of our Master Water Stewards from their capstone projects. And I did bring a copy of an article that was in the most recent White Bear Press that showcased the Master Water Steward project that was recently finished on Bald Eagle Lake, so that you can see. In that case, they took an abandoned boat launch where the water was coming down the road, West Avenue, flowing down straight down the boat launch across Bald Eagle Lake Boulevard and going into the lake, causing a lot of sedimentation and other nutrient loading in that spot. And they were able to turn it into a 2-tier rain garden with a shoreline restoration. And I'll talk really briefly about that project right before I wrap up. So, you know, what we get from our Master Water Stewards is then they are that link for us with the watershed district. We find these key projects often looking through the sub-watershed reports that we have, looking at the local water plans with our communities and finding those projects that communities have identified as priority, but they need someone to champion them and kind of bring everyone to the table. So White Bear Lake is a wonderful community asset and is a large part of the identity of the region. However, as you know, it's always a challenge to protect the water quality and improve the water quality of our lake resources. So what Rice Creek is hoping to do is to kind of convene some of the stakeholders around White Bear Lake and collaborate with them on the kind of sponsorship of a Master Water Steward. What that looks like, what that partnership looks like, is not defined necessarily. Some of our partners have committed to saying that if the project is done in their community, that they would pay a portion of the capstone project, because Rice Creek does cover up to 75% of the capstone project expenses. Many of our partners have said they'll help us recruit and are just kind of looking for a person that would be the best candidate for Master Water Steward. We're asking other stakeholders and partners to just be a part of the conversation, whether it's help identify a location or a project, whether it's help disseminate information, you know, kind of just support the efforts of that water quality ambassador in the communities. To support that, Rice Creek did submit an application to the Greater White Bear Lake Community Foundation to cover the tuition and some of the education and outreach programming that the Master Water Stewards do. But again, the Capstone project, all of that would be supported by Rice Creek. And you know, we are prepared regardless of whether or not the funding comes through from the Community Foundation, that we would be willing to dedicate a Master Water Steward to the Rice Creek area if we can find a strong candidate. So we do have relationships with a lot of our stakeholders and partners in the White Bear Lake area. The city of White Bear Lake actually approved resolution number 12073 on August 8th that said that they supported the program. They know about the grant application that we submitted. We've been working with Connie Talon to look at how this individual, whoever they may be, could potentially support the efforts in the city of White Bear Lake, but balance it with all the other communities. We're working through some of the local water planners, the people that are working for the communities, to make sure that we identify someone and then identify projects for them and support them. So, you know, again, we are moving forward with this project, maybe with the support of the Community Foundation. What I'm asking of all of you is to consider how this partnership could benefit the Conservation District and think about perhaps recruitment. Are there individuals that may be a part of this year's Master Water Steward program or in the future? Is there information that you would want the Master Water Steward to have, those shared resources? There's a lot of education and training that goes into the program, so we would want to hear your priorities and perspective for this individual. Assisting us with information dissemination or volunteer opportunities, you know, kind of helping us reach out to the greater community, project identification, and really just making sure that we're all at the table together as we try to find someone to kind of be that ambassador of water quality for White Bear Lake. So I made some color copies. Again, this is the example of one of our most recent Master Water Steward projects in your area. It was on Bald Eagle Lake. To a Matamidi resident and and I apologize, you got the black and white.
Sure,
copy,
story of my
so-
life. Story of my
Still
life.
Still Scott, stop with him.
Looks
There we
also
go.
gray to me.
Something's wrong with your eyes, George.
So these were two of our Master Water Stewards. One is from Matamidi. He's a younger gentleman, a recent graduate from St. Thomas, and he's on the Matamidi Environmental Commission. He went through the Master Water Steward program, and he partnered with a gentleman from White Bear Township who lives on Bald Eagle Lake. And he's actually the president of the Bald Eagle Area Association. And the two of them did this project where you see it's a two-tiered rain garden and a shoreline restoration. And White Bear Township was extremely supportive of this project. They provided 25% of the cost for the cost share program, the capstone activity. What's interesting is when we started the initial drawings, we work with our county conservation districts as well. They help with the designs. The Master Water Stewards do a lot of the convening of the meetings, getting buy-in from the communities where the projects could go in. And one of the early designs had both the rain garden and the shoreline restoration. And kind of in the beginning phases, people felt that maybe it was too expensive to do both projects at once, so we were just going to do the shoreline. And the county conservation district, as they looked at the project, felt it was very valuable. And they actually came back to the table and said, if you guys can get this done and you can do it within this timeline that was midsummer that we needed to complete it, they would put in $10,000 into the project as well to make sure the shoreline restoration took place with the rain garden piece. That's kind of what these Master Water Stewards can do. They can get a lot of different people to come to the table and bring different resources. Right now we're working on the signage. and then some additional education outreach. And this is a really, a very exciting project, and we'd like to see a lot of these kind of in the White Bear Lake community and serving White Bear Lake. So that was a lot of information I just threw at you, but do you have any questions? Yes, Mark.
Which one's from Matamidi, Mike or Gary?
Mike is from Matamidi. And full disclaimer, Mike ended up becoming our Rice Creek intern, but he'd been in the Master Water Steward program for like 2 years when he applied for that position, and he was a great candidate. So he's kind of continued with the relationship with us. So
Is he working with the city of Matamidi?
he's on the City of Matamidi Environmental Commission.
Okay, thanks.
He's also a volunteer water quality monitor. He does water quality monitoring as a volunteer. So.
So first off, I drive by this project. It looks really good.
Thank you.
I appreciate, I didn't know, I mean, it just showed up. I didn't know the
Yeah.
background. So I appreciate your involvement in that. A couple of things that come to my mind is, one, it seems like we could provide a link to your activities or to those types of things on our website. Does that make sense,
Yeah,
Scott?
and I would do that if you've got one link, if it's right on your website already for water stewards.
You know what I realized? I'm just writing your name down, sir. So, as I said, I'm fairly new to this position, and I recently realized they actually didn't put any of the Master Water Steward information on the Rice Creek Watershed webpage. So we're working on updating that and getting that, but I can provide you some links for the Freshwater Society, and I could create a blurb. I could create a write-up that you could just link.
Yeah, we could plug it in, especially if there's a little bit of graphics and stuff. I think
Sure.
we have some stuff that needs refreshing anyway.
Okay,
So
okay.
we could create some space for you.
Okay, thank you.
And then the second thing I was going to say is, if you had stakeholder meetings, I'm sure we could find somebody on the board that would be interested in sitting in.
Great.
Participating in those meetings.
Super, thank you.
And then beyond that, I'm not sure that, what else we can offer. I mean, I assume the board would be open if you had a project and you were looking for, and had a specific request.
And I think what we want to do right now is make sure you're aware that we're trying to do this, because you are one of the major stakeholders in the lake and in the water quality. And so we just want to make sure you are aware. I love the fact that you're willing to possibly engage in the stakeholder, at least being a part of the conversation, because we don't know what all the needs are. This is the first example of this kind of collaboration that we're trying, but we've got other communities in different parts of the watershed district that want to look at how do we use these volunteers in a smart way. So I wish I had a map or a blueprint, but I think we're off to a good start, and if you're just willing to participate in the conversation, then I think that's the first step.
Sure, and I think that's great. So just so she's not having to deal with all of us, is it easiest if she works through our administrative assistant, or through Mike, or through Scott, or what do you guys think?
Yeah, well, I'm in charge of the education committee as it is, and there'd be an interest there, and then Mike's in charge of water quality.
Yeah.
I think, Mike, you have some other people who are citizen members of water quality?
Not anymore.
Not anymore? Well, we should get some. I
use
think we need to find somebody who's got the time and the inclination, to be the champion for water
Yeah,
quality.
I think, if you had information or something and you wanted to get it out, and we wanted to get it out to the board, that Mary would be the quickest way, and Scott would be the second quickest way, and I'd be the absolute slowest way.
And are you married?
Pardon?
Are you married?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
Mary,
I
yeah.
am.
Okay. Well, how about this? I will share some information with Mary as it kind of becomes available, and then you guys can let us know any other changes or requests that you have from us.
That sounds
Does
great
that
to
sound
me.
fair?
Yeah.
Okay,
like
great.
Anything else for Beth? Thanks for taking time out of your night
Thank
to
you.
talk with us.
Absolutely,
you.
and thanks for letting me share this.
Thank you, Beth.
Thanks, Mike, for getting that arranged. And we don't have any other new business. Item 7 is unfinished business, nothing there. Reports, action items. The executive committee did not meet. I dropped the ball on that. But one thing that is coming to the fore is the administrative assistant position. Mary has gone through and dug up what information we had in the files, and that's now in the possession of Diane. And Diane's going to review that, and we'll be discussing it at our next executive committee meeting, with the hopes of developing a job description and figuring out the proper way to go about doing a hiring of this sort. And then we'll bring that information to the board for some review before we take the leap of sending it out into the real world. Any questions on that?
So when do you think it'll be posted?
Well, I'm hoping that we would have something to bring back to the board for the September meeting, and then post it, assuming that the board says, yes, that looks pretty much in line, then we would post it shortly after that. And maybe have applications back before the October meeting. That might be a little optimistic, depending on the timing. But in any case, hopefully by the November meeting, we have a candidate to recommend to the board. But that, that involves getting the applications, reviewing the applications, having some interviews, and because we're a public entity, we have to follow certain rules to make sure we don't fall down there. And so, anyway, that's the status of that. And I think that's a realistic, I think November is realistic, October might be a possibility. Any other questions on that item? Okay, so that's that. The next item on the list or on the agenda is 8B, Lake Level Resolution Committee. So Pat's not here, so I'll handle this one. The Lake Level Resolution Committee hasn't met. Pat and Jean, who were I guess the chair and the other member from the board, obviously they've left the board. So that committee is in a little bit of limbo. At the moment, and actually there was one of the committee members here before the meeting that I chatted with, and I told her that what I would do is send out an email to the committee members, just giving them a status update on that committee and letting them know that the reality is that I don't see much activity from that committee for the balance of the year anyway, with no leadership from the board, or nobody from the board to be on that committee. So that's, any questions on that? Okay, so that's that, and then we're on to the Lake Quality Committee. Mike.
Lake quality, water level as of 1 o'clock this afternoon was 923.14. 923.14. That is 2 3/4 inches lower than last month at this time, and it is 9 1/4 inches higher than last year at this time. So it's hanging in there, and rain predicted for tomorrow. A lot of rain, sounds like. So it's staying the 923 average level. Water temperature is 74 degrees, a little bit colder than last month, but it's been cool. It's been cool. And the Eurasian water milfoil treatment status, Friday of this week, the applicator will come out and do a check of all the application areas. And next week, sometime early in the week, Steve McComas will come out and do our check for the Conservation District on the effectiveness of the treatment. And then so next month I'll know what they think of it and let you guys know too. And that, unless somebody has some questions, that was it. George?
If treatment hasn't done well, do you recommend doing it again this late, or?
We can retreat it. It's still August. We kind of had a rule, I don't know if it was a motion, I think it was just a guideline that we wouldn't treat after August 15th because the treatment usually takes 2 weeks. And so then we're talking Labor Day, and after Labor Day, there isn't much lake use. But if it's a bad area, you know, we have the potential of retreating, and it's their expense if it doesn't take. So they guarantee it. What has happened in the past is when there has been a few acres, I think it was 3 acres, they said, well, we can go out and treat it, it's not a big area, or I'll give you a 3-acre credit next year. And of course, we took the credit. But you know, you drive by, and I drove by Otter Lake the other day, and it's just, you know, terrible weed situation. And then Birch Lake on the end of 4th Street over here, almost all covered, you know, with weeds, milfoil. And, you know, we kind of, Steve McComas and I mentioned at the last meeting too, surmised that if we didn't keep up with this, we'd have some terrible issues. We'd have, the public would just be, you know, really mad because there'd be corners of bays and areas that would be unusable. So I think it's worthwhile to keep up with it. Keep it open as a good recreational lake. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'm done.
So how will that decision be made if there is a bad area, and will you just make that decision of whether we should retreat or take a credit, or?
I have in the past. The applicator, you know, if he's willing to retreat it and Steve McComas agrees, then it probably happens because there's no additional funds being spent. So they're just kind of finishing up work that they were supposed to do. So, you know, unless the board feels that it would have to come before the board to have that done, but then it won't happen because it would be in September.
Personally, I'm comfortable with you and Steve making that call.
Yeah.
That anybody feel different than that? Okay.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Mike. 8D, Lake Utilization Committee, Mark?
No, 8G1 will take care of anything that I've gotten this month.
Okay. And 8E, Lake Education Committee, Scott?
Yeah, a few things. Well, the website's doing just fine, up since last year. Not much to say there. I wanted to update people on a couple of things. One is the board email. I gave everyone their password to the new email system, and I wrote down some instructions. John Harrington of Wirebuilt will help us, you know, all we need to get going on this. Basically, there's 5 points, is that we're going to have, it hasn't been done yet, but we're going to have your new email address underneath your picture on the website. And so anyone can email to that. And if that happens, it'll automatically be redirected to your personal email. So you really don't have to do anything. However, if you reply to any email coming in from the outside, it will come from your personal email if you do it that way. We have the option of signing on with a password that's on your sheet here. And that's simply at the www.wbslcd.org/webmail. And that's a whole webmail interface like you may be familiar with from other things. And you can use that password to have direct access to that email account. So if you want to reply from your official email address, you can use that. Otherwise, it's just all going to come into your personal email, and it will be here in this inbox. So it should work pretty simply. In fact, Wirebill created a YouTube video on how to use this webmail system. Though I got in there without really following the instructions. It's basically put in your new email address and your password, and they're there, right? You see your inbox. You can change, and probably should change your password to something a little easier than what you've been given here. And that's all there is to it. He gave me a little more information if you want to have it on your iPhone or Android as another email account. I have not had time to try this information he gave. So, but he will volunteer to help us out if we want to do that. I'm not expecting a whole lot of email to come in this way, but it does create a proper opening to the public as a way to reach us. So the next step will be putting these email addresses under our pictures on the website. So, any questions?
Mike?
So when it's redirected to our personal email, how will we know that that's how it got there as opposed to somebody who just happened to know my personal email?
I'm not sure. I tried it today, and I couldn't tell. It just came in as from, it doesn't say it's from the board, it says it's from whatever address that user has.
Can we make it not come into our personal email? So I can just go check this email when I check,
Well,
I've got like 3 or 4 emails.
it'll always come to your, yeah, I'm not sure what your question is.
Is there a way I can make it not come to my work or my personal email where because I'm fine, I have 4 or 5 emails anyway, so.
Yeah,
I'd like to keep them
we could
separate.
tell them, so now you have like a backup email for you, right? And you don't want it to go to your work?
That's correct.
Okay, well, I will tell them not to do that.
Yeah, and I think that's really, and that's the question I was going to have, Scott. Do we have the option of not having it forward at all, and then it's just incumbent on us to go in and check this email?
That would be an option. That could
Okay.
be turned off. I think the reason that we did that is we didn't want to add work.
Right.
It would just, come into your normal email.
So I think that's what Mark is requesting, is that it doesn't
Not
forward
even
at
your
all.
personal one?
Yeah, I'm fine checking. I check several a day, so.
Okay. So, no forwarding for
We'll
Mark?
talk afterwards, yeah.
Yeah, and if anybody else wants anything, just let me know, or you can contact John at Wirebill directly. They'll take care of you.
If it's possible, it would be nice to know if it's coming to a personal email that it was redirected.
I can't quite hear that.
It would be nice to know if it was redirected.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find out.
Okay.
And it should be possible to just like on your phone, if you're getting email there, to create another account, and it'll just pop right up, and then we could cut off the, the relay. But I will find out if there's a way to find out if it's been redirected. Because otherwise you don't know if they got
don't
your
know.
email.
I just have the one email and I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they could even just put some asterisks or something for the email as it comes into your email.
Yeah, if they can do
They
that,
can just-
I'll ask.
Highlight it or something. That'd be great.
Okay. The other item here is, we used to have the video recordings of our board meetings put online. I think it's kind of confusing to me what exactly the city used to do it, and then they stopped without telling us. So, normally, the videos go to the community cable, and they broadcast them when they don't have anything more exciting to do. And they used to be online, but then somebody noted, well, where is it? The last one I could find online was like October 2015 or something like that. So Wirebuilt is going to fix that. And what they've actually done is what a lot of other organizations have done, including the Vadnais Lake Watershed District, VLAMO, or whatever they're called. They have a YouTube channel that just has them all there. And then they could, so what he did is he volunteered to set up a YouTube channel for us, and he put the last meeting out there, and which I think is quite appropriate. And then what we'll do is we'll set up a link from our website, so if you're really bored, you can go back and review those meetings. So that's what we're planning on doing.
Mr. Chairman, Scott, if you would meet with me after the meeting. I just had a conversation with Lisa, our videographer, about the problem that John was having with uploading to YouTube. And she has some very good answers and perhaps an even more elegant solution to having our meetings online. So let me fill you in on that, if you would.
Okay, so there's late-breaking information that, yeah, we'll talk right after the meeting, and if
Okay, and
Lisa's
then
got
I'll
some
tell
other
John too, so,
stuff. Okay,
thank you.
that sounds good. And the only other thing I have is, well, it's sort of like the, you know, the water quality championship thing that we were presented by the Rice Creek Watershed, is that there is a lot of activity on aquatic invasive species in Ramsey County. And I've been getting the emails, but I don't have time to actually be involved in their meetings. So I will put that out there. If anyone wants to be a champion for aquatic invasive species and go to some of these meetings, there is a coordinator for Ramsey County who's organizing meetings of lake groups of the, 14 lakes in the county. So I will put that out there for anyone who's interested.
How often do they meet, Scott? How often do they meet?
I think it's kind of ad hoc.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't read their emails. So, but I've, you know, we do have that.
I've gone to a couple of them, and they're good information. A lot of people aren't, or a lot of lakes associations aren't as far along or as well organized, obviously, as we are, and have nobody to help them out at all for something. They're just kind of grasping, trying to teach themselves what to do.
Yeah.
We have, of course, Stephen Colmus, with, you know, our onboard limnologist, who is looking at the lake, who does, when we do weed surveys, looks at all the weeds. So if there's a new invasive that we need to attack or something, that we will know about it right away.
Right.
And we'll have the, you know, somebody on board as our consultant on what to do. So I wish them well.
Yeah.
And,
I think the last email I read said that like 7 of the 14 lakes or whatever participated in their last meeting.
yeah,
And they were all head up to write a letter to the Ramsey County Board to try to get more money. And then that kind of petered out.
yeah, it's hard for them. They've created an extra level that.
Yeah, so.
And
There's
they
certainly-
did, but they did mention that as far as water clarity, White Bear Lake was on the top, so.
If anyone wants to be a champion, let's just say the position's open.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of things that haven't.
See who's not here, Jeff and
Put on the website, an article about the starry stonewort, which is spreading in the state. It's not here, but you want to keep it out. So there are certainly more invasive species that could just make things worse for us. So I think there is definitely a reason to be involved. Okay?
And Mike, do you know if Steve sits in on those meetings or participates
I
in
don't
some?
think so.
Okay. All right.
They did use your invasive species folder. I mentioned that to you?
Yes.
As one of the
Zebra
things that was
mussel one?
accomplished.
That was an accomplishment because, you know,
Accomplishment.
they partially funded that
Yeah.
in 2015.
Yeah. So,
Okay, any other questions for Scott? Okay, thank you, Scott. And Diane,
Yes,
treasurer's report.
thank you, Mr. Chair. Mary, do we have copies of the treasurer's report?
I'm sorry, excuse
Do
me?
we have copies of the treasurer's report?
No, but we will have very shortly. I didn't print it out for you, so.
Can we just take a minute?
Sure, how about if we do this, if everybody's okay with, if, well, we probably can't have Mary not be here.
Right,
So we should just take a little
okay.
break here.
I apologize.
No, it's all right. So Mary, do you want to grab this? Do you need any help with that? Okay.
I'm very proud of this one. I can't believe I forgot
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
Just get this thing figured out. It's going to be taking me, what, 3 minutes?
This is a work of art, right?
Well,
This is our work
This is
of
a
art.
nice one.
Yes, this one is solid gold.
It's in color.
Oh, I know. Did everybody get one now?
Thank you.
Okay, so we will come back into session, I guess. And Diane?
All right. Thank you, Board, for your patience. The August 2017 Treasurer's Report has arrived. I'd like to make a motion to accept checks 4427 through 4432.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes.
Mike?
I'd like to note that Swimmer's Itch was funded. Looks like the city of White Bear was the only one that used it.
Yes.
Okay. And the lake management milfoil treatment is being paid.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That passes.
Thank you. Then the next item, our liability coverage needs to be renewed. We get that through the League of Minnesota Cities. And they ask us every year to sign a waiver form. And according to the advice of our attorney, the box that we check is the member does not waive the monetary limits on municipal tort liability established by Minnesota statute. So I'd like to make a motion that that's the box we're going to check and sign and send this in to get our coverage renewed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion in 2 seconds. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
But thanks.
Passes. On to item 8G, the board council report, and since I put this on the agenda, Alan, really what I'm after is if you can just give us a brief update of the Mahoney-Harrod situation and allow the board to ask you any questions.
Sure. Chair and board, did everyone get a copy of the letter dated August 10th that went out officially from the board?
No.
One was waiting for me, so No, no one else got one?
Mark has some.
I have one,
Oh.
but
Well.
I've seen it.
All right, I assumed that everyone had one sitting in front of them. I will represent that a letter dated August 10th, 2017 went out to Mr. and Mrs.
Oh,
Mahoney.
here we go.
I haven't gotten.
I have the packet. I'm sorry, Mary, I didn't go all the way to the bottom.
I believe that it was to have gone out a little bit earlier, but due to some updating that the computer system that our administrator uses, it wasn't able to have, well, it
Hand
didn't
down
get
this
out as
meeting.
early as it was supposed to. But that's technology, gotta love it. It is, however, out now, and you can take a few minutes to read it. It's based on an August 3rd complaint that we received from the Mahoneys. And the specific complaint really was that the neighbor's dock to the south was actually, in their opinion, encroaching on what they call their space, or their ADUA as they perceive it. And so the letter essentially goes on to explain what, in concept, the White Bear Lake Conservation District considers an ADUA to actually be, and that people and docks and whatnot really can't encroach on a fictitious construct. You know, it really is not defined the way that they would like it to be defined. So it was explained that that's not what the ADUA is for, and that the previous order of the board, such as it is, stands, and the parties are still welcome to come up with any other agreements that they want for board approval to modify the existing order. I would note that there's another complaint. I'm not sure if it's based on the receipt of this. I shouldn't really call it a complaint. Mark had forwarded to me a response that looks like it was dated August 15th, where the person, well, one of the people making the complaint, acknowledged receipt of the letter you have, and that essentially they didn't agree with, quote, the premise or the conclusions, and still has a problem with the angle of the neighbor dock to the south, and has here reiterated again that the historic angle of their dock, as they put it last year, was an anomaly, and now it's back out to where it was supposed to be. And so I've ruminated on that a little bit, and I think that can be true. However, I also have to think that this is the first year where the board has essentially made options available to these parties. And so historically, I would say for the last 5 years or so, the order of the board has been place your docks, and when they're in the middle of the properties, there really isn't that much crowding because it's just not a concern, and everyone's dock was placed in the middle of their property. Now that the option is there to place a dock within 20 feet of the boundary of the property, which is what the Mahoneys have done, even if that angle is what it classically was, they're quite a few feet closer to that border with the neighbor to the south. So that angle is obviously going to be more dramatic both ways. And so whatever the situation is, if you're going to be that close, obviously the board can't allow crowding, and so I think it was an appropriate order to actually have that angle changed slightly just to prevent the problem that was occurring. And so that was just, like I said, off the cuff, because I've been thinking about it since Mark forwarded me, so have at it. If you guys want to ask questions or comments about that, that's just kind of the lay of the land as I see it. Again, this letter has been received by the Mahoneys, and the response has essentially been that email that was sent to Mark. Is that fair, Mark?
Yes, sir.
right.
So Alan, just so it's clear to me, so the Mahoneys offered a complaint or sent a complaint in to us.
August 3rd.
And we responded to that complaint with this letter.
You got it.
And, okay, so that seems good to me. Does anybody else have any other questions for Alan?
Well, on this, I will just give you a general
On
update.
this, does anybody else have any questions? Okay. And
And there's no pride in authorship, so this was something that was thought out by, with the assistance of the LUC, and so a couple of sets of eyes went onto this before it was sent out, and thank you, Mary, for coordinating it and getting that out. In other news, it's been a remarkably nice summer, and people are really minding their P's and Q's. I can't really tell you what the Sheriff's Department is doing, because they're not sending a whole lot of people into court. So either the behavior on the lake is exemplary this summer, or everyone's getting a lot of warnings, because I have yet to see anyone show up in criminal court. So that's actually a good thing. That means everyone's enjoying the lake responsibly. At least that's how I perceive it. So with that, I would stand for any other questions.
You know, there is something I'd like to raise with the board that pertains to Alan and also this Herod Mahoney thing. It's because it has the potential to turn into something litigious. I would like to recommend to the board that we write a letter to both parties and let them know that any future correspondence be directed to Alan, our attorney, so that he can field those items on behalf of the board and then advise the board what the best way to respond would be to those items. Because unfortunately, it seems that this is a never-ending story, and so it doesn't seem like it's going to go away. And does anybody have any issues with that, that means of moving forward?
I guess I don't get a say in it, right?
Okay, well then, I will, if Mary, if you could prepare a letter and send it to both parties and just let them know that any future correspondence should be directed to Alan.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Brian, is there any discussion of this?
No. Okay, so any other questions for Alan? Okay, then we're moving on to the consent agenda, and that's Diane.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. So we're on to item 10, announcements. And I think we covered all the announcements. So I don't have any further. And Scott?
I have an update. I have the answer to the question about how you can tell that the email was redirected. And the answer is that the to line will actually have your WBLCD email address there. So the one I tested to myself, it said from me to scostello@wblcd.org, even though it was in my personal inbox. So that's how you can tell.
Thank you.
Any other announcements? Okay, so item 11, adjournment.
So move.
Motion and second, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're adjourned. Thank you all.